weekend. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. 'Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. 'Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life.
Hey everybody, my name is Sondra Ray and I am one of the hosts of the Coffee Chat Show, and I want to welcome everybody today. Today is a very interesting topic. So I am super grateful that Mr. Peter is going to be helping me co-host today, as Mr. Brown is taking care of family first. We are very much about that. So for those that don't know, the Coffee Chat Show is where we talk about all things business, helping entrepreneurs all over the world. I am located in the United States. Majority of people on this screen are not located in the United States. They're on the opposite side of the world of me. So I always love the show that we get to talk to people all over the world. So today's topic is about hiring and keeping amazing talent for your team. Like, how do you figure that out? How do you figure out what you need? How do you figure out how to find the right fit? How do you keep the right fit once you find the right fits? And all the things in between. So, Peter, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I'm actually glad that that's today's topic. Because if I'm looking at the panel and I'm looking at the different expertise in the room, I think that a majority of these spaces have like a part of that puzzle. And I think by the end of this program, we're going to be able to put it together and it's going to be a thing of beauty. So I think that's going to be absolutely incredible.
Awesome. I am multiple screens here, so keep me focused. I want to make sure we say hello to everybody live on YouTube. It is the uniqueness of our show is that we are live on YouTube right now. So you can ask questions, make comments. We bring those into the show the best we can. Last week we had so many questions, so many good questions. It was interesting to make sure we went back and forth. So I like that. I love the interaction. So let's jump in. Hiring and retaining talent, talent in your business as a small business owner. Let's start with you, Peter. What does that mean? What does that mean, hiring and retaining top talent? Like, let's start with the definition. I always like to start at the start. What does that mean to you?
Well, I was going to raise my hand anyway, so thanks for getting to me before I could do that. I think I need to make it clear where my perspective comes from. So, as one of the co-founders of Explore ProTech, I have to build a space that is full of entrepreneurs. Yes, it is a networking space, but it's a networking space with a difference. We're looking for very specific people to be part of this network. It's not just a space where people can come and market themselves or try and sell their products or anything like that. This is a relationship-based space where we're looking for people that are that can teach, that can learn, that can grow, become each other's solutions, can filter into a space that they become a part of. And I think that's actually I think it's quite important to convey where I'm at first before I say that I have the authority, because there's a slight difference between building out a community of people and adding people to it and keeping them versus having a business and hiring staff. Very different, but you'll find the commonality between the two is much the same. And it's something that people miss a lot. They completely miss it. And I think number one in my space is I have a very set culture within my space. Everybody in this space will know that. They are well aware of that. They are well aware of what the culture is. They are well aware of how to function within that culture. There are guidelines to function in that space. People are very well aware of what is acceptable, of what is not acceptable. They're very well aware of how we will treat each other. And in order to achieve what we consider a safe space for entrepreneurs, we need to create that environment. And I think it's much the same in the workplace. In order to, before we even think of what kind of people are we looking for to hire, we need to understand, well, what is our space and what does it stand for? And what culture do we have? Because that will be a huge indicator when you are interviewing somebody not only are they the right person for the job, but are they the right person to fit into the culture of this space? Now, if we look at networking spaces in general, retention rate of members, 3 months. 3 months. How do we fix that? Marketing. Cycle people, turn them over, turn them over, turn them over, turn them over, maintain the numbers, maintain the numbers. If you run your business like that, you will fail at creating culture. If you're creating a space that is supportive of the people that you're bringing into it, number one, the people that you're bringing in feel comfortable. They feel like they belong. They feel like they are part of something. Now, I know that in a networking space, that is, that should be how it's done anyway. But when you're running a business, it's exactly the same. You want to create a space where your space is supportive of the people that you're bringing into it. And what you need to understand as well is that people that you employ should never be working harder than you. It's your business. They're employed. They're paid to work. They're not going to do the things that you're going to do. But if you can create a culture within a space, people get inspired to do things over and above and beyond the call of what they are being paid to do, although you cannot expect them to do it because they are staff. So if you want to treat your staff members like, well, I pay you, so do your job, then the only thing that you're going to get is somebody doing their job. That's it. This is what my job is. Anything other than that, I'm not interested. But if you can create culture, and I'm glad that actually Stephen's got his hand up next. So, because when we're talking about culture, that's the man to speak to. So I think creating that understanding of where I come from is very important, because otherwise I'm giving you all this advice, but nothing tells you what qualifies me to answer that question. So I think that just creates that space where that's what qualifies me, and that's my understanding of bringing people into the workspace. Sondra, back over to you.
I love that. I love that, Peter. We all have a different perspective because we all have different businesses, different communities. Of course, we're all here because we are part of Explore ProTech for very good reason, because we love the culture. At least that's one of the reasons I'm here. 99% sure that's the rest of them can say that. Yes, but I love Peter's like crosses his fingers, of course. I would love to bring you in, Mr. Levy, because I know you deal with leadership and culture and like this is so up your alley. So I'm grateful you're here. So come on in, join the conversation.
Thanks, Sondra. Thanks, Pete, for your input. Yeah, it's a wonderful topic and excited to speak about it because it's so important. And I think the first thing is to distinguish between hiring and retaining. So to hire people if I look certainly in our country, we have the highest unemployment rate in the world. So we can hire people. There's different hiring the right people and filling a position. So if you want to fill a position, I can go out now and get you probably 5 kilometers of people to fill a position. If you want to fill a position with the right people, it takes patience. And the cost of, often we get kind of pushed into filling a position because obviously the position's open, somebody's got to support it, so they're doing kind of 2 jobs, or it's spread out amongst the team. But whatever it is, it's putting extra workload on others. So we kind of fill the position in just to get it filled, but that can cost you a lot more than waiting for the right person. So that brings me then to that hiring process, your skill set, number one, because of course everybody sends in their CVs. Skill set is important for the industry that you're going in, because if you don't have the right skills, it's not going to get you in the door. But actually that's probably often where the interview stops. And unfortunately, skill set will just get you in the door. But now you're talking about the right fit. And that's where culture comes in. So I might have the right skill set, but I might not belong in that or fit into that culture. And that discussion is not often had. And then what is the culture of the business? What defines the culture of the business is mainly the biggest contributor to the culture of the business is what is the business value in terms of what are those non-negotiables in the business that makes it unique. And it's understanding those values where it becomes powerful and living them. And to the very few people or organizations that I've worked with that in their onboarding process, and there are some, so I'm not saying, please don't get me, I'm not saying everybody, but they are in the minority, is that actually have a discussion about the values of their business to the people that are coming into the business. What is service excellence? So service excellence is a value of ours. What does it mean to you in the interview process? And then I can see, does service excellence actually mean anything to you? And if it does it mean to you what it means to me? Because it might be very different. There's no right or wrong. So I think those discussions are extremely important. And it's often when it's missed that we discover that this person has the right skill set, but they're not the right fit. And then it's very difficult to retain someone like that. And I'm going to come back to retention just now. I also want to, I think just to apply the word fit is, do you fit in here? I should never try fit into a culture. I need to understand the culture. And then do I understand, do I belong there or not? So not only from the employer's point of view, also from the employee. If I don't feel the culture is right and I don't belong there, the worst thing for me to do is try and fit in, because it's not going to be sustainable. Okay, it's like trying to be who you're not. And you can't do that for extended periods of time. So somewhere along the line, you're going to fall off the bus. I think it's such a, and then retention we can talk about for hours, and obviously we don't have that time. So I think retention is very much about, yes, the culture, do they belong? But I think also one thing I do want to point out is to retain top talent, you cannot tolerate poor performance, because if you tolerate poor performance, you will lose your top talent. So it's not just about, you need to care for your people. Leadership needs to care for their people. They need to support their people. But they've also got to be careful what they tolerate. Because if you tolerate poor performance or a toxic attitude in your business, your top people will leave. And so that's part of the retention process, is to retain top talent, because I often say you get what you tolerate. So I think it's very important. And I think experience is another thing that I just want to lastly touch on. And I really feel sorry for, my heart goes out to people who've got the right skill set, but they come straight out of college or varsity and they keep getting told that they don't have experience. And my question was, geez, somebody's got to take a bold step and let me come into the workplace. Otherwise, how the hell am I going to get experience? So, but if I've got the right attitude, I would rather have someone with the right attitude and teach them the skills than someone who's highly skilled who doesn't have a good attitude. So it's not always just skills. It's not always around skill set. And I heard such a beautiful example, I experienced it with my son-in-law who got a job. They live in Sweden, in Stockholm. He got a job with a company there. His onboarding process, okay, he had to fill in all his forms, went through the whole format of submitting forms, but his first interview, which was online because he was in South Africa, the manager or the two leaders of the division that he was applying for, they went on to a virtual session. But the very first interview, they came onto the session, but they didn't open their video. And he sat with a team, and the team interviewed him, and they wanted to see how he interacted with the team. And they didn't really interview, they had a discussion. And they just wanted to see if he got it, and I thought that was amazing. So yeah, it's I think that's what I just wanted to add to the pot. And that's the responsibility, that culture that Peter was talking about of leadership. That culture in the business is powerful, and it's leadership's responsibility to ensure that culture remains and that people live that culture. And if you don't want to live that culture, it doesn't mean you're bad or you're not good. Maybe you just don't belong there. So, yeah.
I love
That's
that,
Stephen
Mr.
from DDB.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. And I'm smiling because people are asking some of the questions in the live, and you're answering them almost as fast as they're asking them, as fast as I could type too. And one of the questions was, can you be a fit without having the full skill set? And like you said, the culture, you can, because you can be willing to learn the skill set, but you also have to, the company needs to know that. You need to say, hey, I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn it. And then they have to decide, are they willing to teach you? Do they have the time to teach you? Some things are time sensitive. So if they don't have time to teach you something, then maybe they can't use you right now. Maybe they can use you down the road or whatever, but maybe they're like, okay, you don't fit now, but we love the fact that you're willing to learn. And I'm usually very honest and be like, I don't know that yet, but I'm willing to learn. Or I'll be like, I'm not willing to learn that. Let's go find somebody else that can do that part of the job, and I will do X, Y, and Z. So that's the way I've dealt with that.
I know there are other guys who are just want to tell you about time, because it's 100%. There are courses, there are ways. You need to develop your people. And I often say, and then leaders say, but I don't have time for one-on-one interaction with them. We'll say, well, if you don't have time, you won't create time. And what's going to change? That's leadership's responsibility. Make time. Make time to support your people to be the best, and you will retain them.
Exactly. I love that, Mr. Levy. I love that. So many hands, so many people that want to talk. Mr. Hendrick, yay! You raised your hand. I didn't even have to call on you. Yay! Yay! Hey.
Thank you, Sondra. Evening again. So, with regards to the topic at hand today, I'm also just going to add on what Mr. Levy and Peter have already touched on. With me, I believe that currently I've got a team of just above 18. Yes. So the most important thing I do, or we do in our interviews, is first things first. We want people who are not afraid. People need to speak their minds around us. People need to be free to say what you hired them to say in the team. So whenever we have these interviews, we need someone who can speak their mind. Yes, we don't want people who are arrogant or who do not have the right attitude. Like Mr. Levy said, you can teach someone the right skills, but you cannot teach someone the right attitude. So it's very important to have people who are willing to learn, willing to work with others, because we are a team-based company. Even though we are a small company, what I believe in, I don't treat people based on their titles. So I lead from the front. Whenever I'm around these guys, I try to be as open as possible so that they can be open in my presence as well. Because it does not assist getting the right people with the right set of skills only to come and micromanage them, or only to come and tell them what to do. You end up not taking what you hired them to do into considerations whenever they bring ideas. So I think it's very important that when we hire people, give them the roles that we hired them to do, give them the support they need, make it easy for them to perform in the company. So if you, my belief is, if you are honest with these people, you are open with them, and you give them what you hired them to come and assist the company with, then it should be easy for you to keep the right people. So that's what I believe. Also, in closing, I'd like to say, I view my company, especially where we work, we try to have every site where we are working so that our employees can feel home away from home. Because the moment you make people feel appreciated at work, is the more they'll become loyal to you, to the company, and you don't have to follow them to do whatever they are hired to do, because they know the reason they are at work. That's Hendrick from Teresano F Movers, your lifting and rigging specialist from Mpumalanga.
I love that. I love that. Hendrick, you're talking about keeping people, and by keeping people, that is letting them have a role in your company. Like, they are your face. You can't be on every site. You know, they are representing you and your company. So if they don't have a part in it or don't have a buy-in to it, then yeah, their performance could be all over the place. And I think being, like you said, being honest, being open, letting them have an opinion, taking that into effect. Yeah, I've been in situations lately where my opinion is not valid, and it's very frustrating. And I think Peter was one of my reached out to the other day. I'm like, thank you for being a compassionate and nice human being. Because it was one of those days where they just weren't, people were not being nice human beings. And I was just, so I reached out to three people and said, thank you for being nice human beings. And they're just like, okay. Because I want to acknowledge that I am surrounded by nice human beings, and that it was just a yucky day, and that I needed to acknowledge that I do have nice human beings and helpful human beings in my space, even on those bad days. So I think being open and honest about that, Hendrick, and being like, hey, you know, things happen, but I'm here for you, and like, let's talk this through. And having operating procedures and reviewing them with your people, that this is the rules and you have to go by them. This is the rules, and what do you think about them? Or how does this work for you? Or how did this not work for you in the last quarter or the last month or whatever? Is extremely important. So open-ended questions, not this is what you would do and this is how you will do it. There can be a time and place for that occasionally, but making sure you check in with people is very, very important. Mr. L, come on in, sir.
Hi, good evening, Sondra. Good evening, everyone, even those that are watching on YouTube. Hendrick just mentioned quite a good point towards the end of his, do I say speech? Input. And I just want to say, when you employ ambassadors to your company, you know, the people that you employ must be able to represent you wherever you go. And I think that wherever they go, and I think that talks to what Mr. Levy and Peter mentioned earlier, to say people, when you employ people, they have to be a good fit to your culture. If somebody doesn't like what they are doing, they are not going to give their best. They are just going to work because they've got to work. And those are not the kind of people that you're looking for. So employing a good fit for your culture in your organization, and making sure that wherever they go, even in your absence, you are well represented. For me, that's very important. And then as a leader as well, and I think Hendrick alluded to this, how you treat your people as well, that's very important. How do you treat them? Do they feel comfortable coming to talk to you? Do they feel at home when they are at work? Because they spend a whole lot of their days and weeks and hours at work. So when they are there, are they comfortable? Are they feeling at home? So that's another important point that I also wanted to raise. And I know there are people that will leave a company to go to another company for salary. Those are very dangerous people. Yes, we all want money. We all want to work for, comfortable salaries. But if somebody leaves, and in the interview, they say, you ask them, why did you leave your previous company? And it was because you are offering a lot more than they're offering. That person is going to leave you as well, because they are going to look for another company that's going to out offer you, and then they're going to go to that company. So those are not people that I would employ. I need to employ somebody that loves what I'm doing, that sees my vision, that wants to help me to grow my company, because if I grow, then that person grows as well. And if we make more money, he's going to get more money as well. And then you need to recognize talent as well. There will be people that you will employ that will be more talented than you thought they are. Now, recognize those people, appreciate them, and if there are more responsibilities that you can give them those responsibilities, so that they feel, oh wow, I'm being seen, that I'm doing this better than whoever, and I'm being recognized. And then it encourages other people as well to perform better, so that they also can be recognized. So for me, you need to recognize talent and make sure that you appreciate them, you recognize and appreciate them. And just a question, I want to end up with a question. Mr. Levy, you mentioned experience. So I just want to ask, between qualification and experience, who would you employ? Somebody that's qualified or somebody with experience? And I'll leave it at that. This is Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development specialist.
Go ahead, Mr. Levy. You can answer.
Yeah, I can answer it.
Yes.
It's a good question. I think it comes back to what we were speaking about, and Hendrick alluded to, is skill set and attitude. I think your experience falls into that bracket as well. I can be highly experienced, but if I come in because of my experience, I come in overconfident, kind of that know-it-all, with the wrong attitude, don't want you. If you come in with the right attitude, I can teach you skill and you will get experienced. So for me, it's a great question, etc. And I think I think attitude, I've seen attitude trumps everything. Because a high performer, you can get a high performer with a bad attitude, can be the most toxic person in your company. And it's an intangible impact that they have on the rest of the team. And I've actually experienced it. Happy to share that experience with you, actually real life experience. What happened because they kept him for so long and when he went. So I went through that whole experience. It was actually quite phenomenal. So there's an answer to your, I hope that answers your question. It's just that I do feel sorry for people, if they got the right attitude, etc., they're coming out of varsity or college or school, whatever it is, and they don't have the experience, and nobody's prepared to invest in somebody like that with the right attitude. How are they ever going to get experience? But it takes time.
Find the mute button. Too many screens. Love that, Mr. Levy. And that was some of the comments on the Facebook Live, was that, people need to learn. Experience can sometimes be a hindrance. Sometimes experienced people are unteachable. And if people are unteachable and not willing to learn, growth mindset. I'm very big on growth mindset. I don't know. I firmly believe everybody has something to learn. Whether it's taught to you through life experience or taught to you through something else, but there's always something that can be learned. And then Sarah was saying the right people in the right seats. That's very profound, Sarah. Thank you for that. I want to make sure I bring in people. Mr. Mikey, come on in on the conversation.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks. Yeah, it's a very fascinating, awesome topic. I'm sure many of us, that's why their hands are up easily on this one. And many of us can relate to it. I'm sure many of the viewers and listeners will testify to their own life experiences on this topic and can relate to their personal values, experience, and the environment and the work environment that they were in over the years. But what is, since we, addressing entrepreneurs and encouraging entrepreneurship and this topic aligning to,
Looks like Mikey is gone somehow. I think he had a problem somewhere.
Okay. All right. I'll come back to you. It's not even gonna let me mute him.
He's a tough leader. You should just cut him off.
I would, but it won't even let me do that. I did not cut him off. No, I did not. Mr. Levy making me.
What are you kidding?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on with him. Okay, we will see. Mr. Peter, come on in while I find out what's going on with him.
I do know that Mikey was having technical difficulties beforehand, and this was Mikey coming back with his camera fixed. So I think maybe something's still not quite 100%. Now I think, but something that Mikey was saying that was really true was pretty much all of us from a certain age onwards can testify to our experience in the space of either being employed or being an employer. And I think a lot of people that start out their careers, people generally start out being employed. That is like the beginning of a career or beginning of a path. And the lessons that you learn while being employed are basically there to teach you how to be an employer. So learn those lessons. I learned very early on that you're going to get different types of employers, and I've experienced them all. I've experienced spaces where, man, this just feels like home. I just love these people. I love the staff. I love the owners. I would bend over backwards for them, which I literally did, and they appreciated it. And not only did they appreciate it by saying so, but they also appreciated it by showing that they appreciated it. But then I also worked for an employer that was, it's either my way or the highway, or I will embarrass you in front of clients because it makes me feel good, or so we as employees, we get to experience that stuff. That's down to life experience. But it doesn't help if we don't take that experience and pull it towards ourselves and go, well, right, as an entrepreneur, my business has gotten to that point where I need to start hiring people. And I don't fall back on that experience and figure out how am I supposed to create the space that's going to make my staff feel the way that I would have wanted to feel if I was an employee. And we kind of skip that whole step. And we just get into the logistics of, can you do the job you're hired? This is your salary, do your job. And then you battle to let go of the authority And because you can't let go of the authority, that person has no ability to make decisions, which means they can't do their job, which means that you're micromanaging. And Mr. Levy, you posted something about this about 5 seconds ago, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Now you're micromanaging that person because you can't let go. They can't do their job. You might as well just do it yourself. So why would they hire it in the first place? No, so if you are not ready to employ people, you yourself, if you are not ready, don't do it. You will harm yourself, you will harm the people around you. If you need to, if you think you're ready and you want to make sure, then bring in somebody like Mr. Levy. It's quite simple. Make sure you are well prepared for stepping into that space. Now, I know for a fact that in my space, I've had to let people go from a networking space because they are just not cut out to be in the space. It's just not for them. They don't fit into the culture. It's not that they don't fit. They were nice people. They just didn't get it or didn't quite understand the culture and then acted outside the lines of the culture and expected different results. And unfortunately, people like that need to go. And one of the last things I want to mention is a percentage of people that we bring into Explore ProTech end up coming into the space as entrepreneurs with very specific skill sets that may end up teaching in different spaces. That's kind of the point of this space. So when I'm looking for people to step into the network, I'm actually looking at people that are, although they may be teachers, but I'm looking for people that are teachable. Because if they're not teachable, I won't let them teach. That to me is just, it's one of those spaces where we're putting people in front of students, and students deserve the best. They deserve the best from what they get from their coaches. They deserve the best. I know the Ignite students are watching. Yes, I'm talking about you. And the coaches, you know who all the coaches are. And yes, I'm talking about you guys. That's a very important space. That's a culture thing. And we've got to get it right. We have to get it right. So I will drop the code word very soon for you Igniters, maybe in the next few minutes, but we'll keep you on the edge of your seats.
Keep them hopping, keep them guessing. Okay, so please forgive me, students. I am from the US and I do struggle with pronouncing names, but I want to bring this one over for you, Mr. Levy, because I think this is a good question for you. It's from Muhle, Muhle. The question is, so where do we toe the line, I think, between being over understanding and understanding to, okay, where's the line between being understanding and not being taken for a ride by your staff? So.
Where, and not being understanding and not taken for a ride.
Yeah, like being understanding and working with your staff versus staff is just took off,
Yes.
And taking advantage of you, I think is the better word.
Yeah, well, taking advantage of it is up to you as a leader. And that's leadership, make no mistake, is not one of it, is the toughest position in any organization. And I think there's a difference between being aggressive and assertive. So again, it comes back to what you tolerate. If you have somebody who's willing to learn and they don't get it the first time, you don't get rid of them, you don't chop them off at the knees. And I think this is, but if they continue and they're not learning because you show they learn lessons from their mistakes, we need to, I think Lesetja alluded to that, we need to let people make mistakes. That's where we learn. But if they're going to continue making the same mistake, then one has to start questioning and have those tough conversations as whether they really care. So there's a fine line between how much you support them and how much, and then when does it get to having that tough conversation? And yeah, that's where the power of values and so on comes in, because it pulls them away from a personal attack on somebody as how do they align to your values. So service excellence is a great one. Dynamic teamwork is another one. how is your performance? But we need to understand what that all is. But yeah, just in answer to the question, there's a fine line between how much you tolerate, and it cannot be a forever thing, because then you're going to come back to losing your top people, because then you start accepting underperformance, and or you've got to question whether you hired the right person. So, rather be a good leader and put them there could be a square peg in a round hole as well, which I've also encountered. So the person didn't necessarily have to leave the organization. I worked with the leader, and they just shifted them into another position, and they started thriving. So then they put the square peg in the square hole. So yeah, I think, but when it comes to tolerating that, but I let Mikey, I hope that answered the question, but I know Mikey's anxious there.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. I've seen that. I've also seen leaders move people around to try to keep them because they just want to keep them. And that's not a very good strategy, because basically the person was just mucking up a whole bunch of different roles versus just cutting it loose and being done with it. So I've seen that happen in businesses. Mikey, did we get our camera fixed? Are we all good now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I just suddenly dropped off, but I'm back and all as well. But yeah, a lot of the discussion, as I was saying earlier, was in context to our people or individuals' work experience, and Stephen has massive experience in this. And since we're targeting the entrepreneur startups on a small level, at this entry level, sort of, not big companies yet, and we'll get there eventually. What's important as well, I believe, is if you are the employer and you are about to employ staff or have a small team, it's also very important and key that you are realistic, honest about your mission, vision, goals, and values. Because it's very easy to say, okay, we want to employ people who have good intentions, goodwill, caring, compassionate, etc., which is idealistic. And you may find such candidates having the values, and maybe without the skills that you need, and like we were chatting, can train them up, etc. But you also have to be realistic and honest with yourself as the business owner with what your true values are, what your company is about, stands for, and is aiming for, or its ultimate goal. Because, for example, if you are I'm just randomly, forgive me for the accuracy of what I'm about to say, but say if you're in the financial industry or financial company, and you, in all honesty, you're about making profit and how to get there, how you go about it, who you railroad, you don't care, but it's about chasing that profit. Now, if that is your company, and those are the values that your company is about in order to reach its goals and ultimate mission, so be it. Accept it for what it is, and therefore hire the according personalities or people with the traits, talents, with or without the skills, as we spoke earlier, that align with your company. What I fear is people think, okay, we need to present ourselves in a very positive manner. So maybe this hard hitting company that's pushing for outputs or outcomes, let's advertise or portray ourselves as compassionate and caring for the greater good. And then you fall into the trap of such individuals, but then they don't align with what you expect of them. And I think a lot of employers and we spoke about talent and holding, acquisition, and retaining. It's again because you have your misalignment. Many companies portray themselves having value statements, mission statements, goals, visions, but that's actually not entirely correct to the staff that they need to achieve that, or the values that the staff that they require to achieve those. And that's where, as a startup entrepreneur, be realistic about the type of, you want people that need to work late hours, that need to put in those extra hours, are willing to take the lower salary for now, etc. Then you got to make sure that when you're interviewing or sourcing, that the values of those individuals can, align to that. And remember, people who may be more compassionate or caring, and the type of image you're aiming for, but not the reality of how you operate. Be realistic as well. So you, the entrepreneur, the leader, be real about what your company is aiming for, and align again those values. Try not to be idealistic. Yeah, I hope you guys understood what I was trying to say there. But anyway.
Okay, Mikey. Yes, I do get what you're saying. Especially when you're first hiring people, it's hard. You have to figure it out one step at a time. Oh my goodness. We got like 10 minutes. Time is flying. Mr. L, come on in.
I'll not be long. As an entrepreneur or as a budding entrepreneur, just know that owning that business is no child's play. You're not going to deal with yourself as an individual. You're going to deal with other individuals with their own personalities as well. So be prepared for that. I think you've got to be mentally fit for it. To that, being a leader, it's not just as simple as I have qualified to become a leader. There are a lot of underground things that happen for you to become a leader that you want to be. And I think if you look at leaders that we look up to now, we can pick up errors that they make in their organizations, in their lives as well. So be prepared for the hard life. Thank you.
I declare I do know where the unmute button is. Thank you, Mr. L. I was saying on the live chat that because I've been bringing more people on communication, I've had to really work on and review myself. Because I was like, did I drop the ball? They dropped the ball. And I'm like, oh, it was me. So I was like, oh, okay, I didn't give you a deadline. I didn't say communicate this way. My bad. That's my fault. Gave the assignment and like kept trucking, and I'm like, oh, we didn't do check-ins or anything like that. So as a leader, I had to be, okay, sit my butt down, communicate. How do I want this done? I want it here in this format written. And they're like, okay, not a problem. And it wasn't a problem. It was just a matter of me not speaking it and making sure they understood it. Because she's like, oh, I thought we were checking in over here. And I'm like, no, let's check in a very one spot. Giving specifics of where and when and how is very important, because you can't expect them to do it if you don't tell them, or ask them to do it. For sure. Mr. Peter, come on in.
I'll make this short and sweet because I think what the others have to say is very important. So as a leader in a space or as the owner of a business, there are processes for everything. Sondra will be clapping, yay, processes. We love processes. But I think that if you are in the position of, and now we're talking about the horrible part, which is firing, please do yourself a favor and stick to the letter of the law of the land that you're in, because that is what is fair to who the employee is. Whether they're going to be working in your space or not, and you're doing the firing process, please don't allow authority to go to your head and go, oh, that's it, I'm just going to double jump a couple of these processes and I'm just going to skip this and skip that. You are being unfair to your employee. Stick to the letter of the law. It's what's safe for you, and it is what is safe for your employee. That's why those laws are in place, right? This is all about protecting employees, and we need to sometimes protect ourselves from our own rash decisions. So don't jump to the decision. You're fired. Sorry for you. You've just got yourself into hot water. Don't do that. Don't do that. Be fair and follow the law. That's my statement. The code word, and the Ignite students in the background will know exactly what I'm talking about, because they're all sitting on the edge of their seats with their claws scraping at the sides, and they're like, give us the code word. And the code word for today is #empowered. So #empowered. And what you can do is you can take that code word, you can send it directly to Somerville, So send a message just between you and Somerville. Hey, Somerville, code word, hashtag empowered. State a little something brief on what you learned here today, and then also go and share, and then send that message to Somerville. Say, hey, I shared Somerville. Here's the code word, and here's what I learned. Give Somerville your best. Give her your best. Peace
Thank
out.
you. Thank you, Peter. And like I have been stating, I do, she will be getting those over to me. I think she's a tab behind, but she will get those over to me. And then I have also been making sure that if you leave comments in the show, after the show, for people that are watching this on replay, I have been trying to do my best to get back over and answer comments and communicate with people after the live, because the live is important, but it also is important after the show. So that is something that I put in place to go back and check. For sure. For sure. Come on in, Hendrick, and then Mr. Levy, and then we will start wrapping up.
Okay, I'll try also to be as short as possible. So the issue with regards to, again, the topic today, I think it's very important for us to ask ourselves the question, what is the cost of retraining people or failing to retain the right skilled, like the right people in your company? Because the moment you start retraining people instead of retaining them, that also becomes an expense, an additional expense in the company. So we need to learn how to build in stages. I'm saying this in the context that there are days or there are moments in your company where you need to be the last person that you pay. You start with your employees, the suppliers, and everyone else, and then you become the last person that you pay. Because the moment you think that everything that comes into the company belongs to you, then you will definitely not retain the right people, because you'll start chopping their money, you'll start taking what belongs to them, and then that becomes a toxic environment. And unfortunately, and nowadays in the day and age of social media, it's very easy for people to go around and saying that, no, this company has a toxic working environment, and you will not attract the right people. So it's very important to take things slow. It doesn't assist you rushing to the end goal, and then just before you get there, you are alone, and then you trip. There's no one to pick you up. So those are my closing remarks.
Thank you, Hendrick. Oh boy, that could open it so many different directions, Hendrick. So pay yourself first, pay yourself last. That's a whole topic. We won't touch that, Mr. Levy, because we would be here for another 2 or 3 hours, especially in the United States, because United States theory and Hendrick's theory do not match. They don't. Yeah, they don't. Mine and Hendrick's match, but I am one of the few in the US that have that opinion. So I can be honest, because I get a lot of pushback from coaches and leaders of how I work. Whatever. I do me. That's the only thing I can do. It's all I know how to do. Anyways, Mr. Levy, give us some final words, and then we will wrap up. And thank you for being so helpful.
Well, just to let you know that Hendrick told me that he was actually thinking of opening up in the United States, but he doesn't fit the culture, so he stayed in South Africa. It's like and just quickly off what Hendrick said is doing it in stages. Yeah, I think one, and then I want to come back to what Mikey was talking about, that's why entrepreneurship or business is called a journey, not an event, because that's exactly what it is. And then coming back to Mikey, yeah, it's about what you said was 100% correct. It's about the values of the company. Whenever you're onboarding someone, the values of the company are important. And then there's one thing you spoke about values, vision, and mission, and all those good things and purpose statements, and that there's one key word that needs to be put in front of all that. You can put in capital letters, is shared. If you don't share the values and vision and mission of the company, you often hear people saying, but my people are not on the same page. Well, if you're not sharing it and you're not reading the same book, you won't be on the same page. So extremely important. And hence the emphasis on when you're onboarding, discuss the vision and certainly the values of the company. And then you can see if your personal values, they won't be the same as the company's, but do you align to the company? And you have the right to say no. And if they are pulling the wool over your eyes, because if they're putting their values up just as a checkbox exercise, you will quickly, as an employee, because we've spoken about the employer, as the employee, you also have a right. If they're pulling the wool over your eyes, you will find out. That's why they have a thing called a probation period. You can also opt out. So, and then the reality of things, which I wanted to come back to, is will we get all people to buy in the way we should? And the answer to that is no. You will get those people that do their job well, they do what you want, they've got a great attitude, and they get their check at the end of the month, and they go home because that's all they're interested in. In reality, you're going to get that. If you have 40% or 50% of your team like that, that's fine. You've got 50% that are bought in, then you're doing well. Because the 50% will probably pull those that are sitting on the borderline, might pull them up so you can go there to 60, 65%. The others might stay exactly as they are, and then at least as a leader, you know how to lead them. And then the rest that don't care, you've got to try and get off the bus as quickly as possible. And that's it. It just brings you, I just want to end off with a great story, which you probably all heard, that the CEO was chatting to the CFO. And the CEO said to the CFO, or the CFO said to the CEO, like a good numbers man, he said, what if we invest in our people and they leave? And the CEO said to him, what if we don't and they stay? That's it.
I love that. I love that, Mr. Levy. Yes, I've stayed in a job too long before, and it's not fun for them, and it's not fun for me. I mean, like it was miserable on all parts. Yeah, it was a very interesting. I've done a couple of times, learn the lesson, have to learn it multiple times. I am super grateful for everybody that participated on the live YouTube show and all the amazing gentlemen in the room. Peter and I always stress just a tad bit before the show, going, who's going to show up and are we going to have enough people? And then Peter, everybody shows up and it's amazing. And then we get to and then I'm like, shoot, we're out of time. So I am Sondra Ray. I'm the owner of Get It Done Coaching. I'm your goal accountability coach. I help you reach your goals by creating bite-sized action plans. We want to send a great thank you to Susan, who does our show notes. She puts all our LinkedIn links in the description. So hit us up. Ask for a coffee chat. We love getting to know people. We love building relationships first. That is the mission statement of Explore ProTech. So make sure you hit us up so that we can chat with you and have conversations with you. And then Ms. Somerville, who helps do a whole bunch of stuff on the back end, including making sure the Ignite people get their correct points. And Mr. Peter, can you give us our infamous sign off? Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, awesome. Just a quick note to the students, show some love in the background. She does way more than you will ever know in the background of this program, other than being a coach on the program. So to sign off, in the words of Nastine Buerter, one of my co-founder, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true. Bye for now.
Stay